In today's chess video, I'll be showing you why 1d6, the Philidor, is especially potent and useful, especially against unsuspecting 1d4 chess players. What to play against pawn d4? I like to play pawn d6. I like to play this Philidor setup. One of the biggest reasons is because, well, against pawn d4, I can play d6, and they never expect that I knew how to play e4, d4, knight f6, d6 this entire time. So now my opponents will have less experience than most players, because e4 players, they might see the Philidor from time to time, but the d4 players definitely don't. So they actually probably have no clue what they're supposed to be doing in these type of situations. Now, my opponent's playing a very aggressive variation over here. This is a pretty spooky variation for most people, but most people don't know how to play this variation correctly for white. In fact, my opponent's not playing this correctly already because they have their bishop on d3, which is definitely not where the bishop is supposed to be. Oh my. My opponent playing d5, it already screams to me my opponent doesn't know what they're doing, to be honest. The reason why this is a problem is because I can take on f4, and I know that this is bad for my opponent because it allows me to basically double up, well, an attack on this e4 square. Basically, I can attack this e4 square 1,000 times in this position with moves like knight c5, and my opponent's actually in a little bit of trouble here because this e4 pawn is going to collapse. Now here my opponent technically can play a castle here. I can't take the pawn right away because the open e file is a danger to me, so I need a castle here. Okay, and the idea here is once he castles, I'm going to castle as well in this position. So let's wait for our opponent to make a move. He plays queen e2, makes a lot of sense. I'm going to castle. I'm going to play rook e8. I'm going to attack this guy over here. This guy is a weakness that I do want to take advantage of. So my opponent's thinking here, he decides to defend it this way, which is interesting. And the reason why this move is interesting, because as you guys can see, this pawn is pinned. And when you have a pawn that is pinned like this, usually it provides you opportunities such as taking on d5 right away. Because this rook is on this file, he cannot capture back because I will just take his queen. Now I'm attacking his bishop. I took away his central pawn. My opponent is, to put it lightly, in a bit of trouble. And so my question is, okay, how do I take advantage of this? I think I'm just going to move my knight back. I think my opponent might play like this bishop f6 idea, but I'm not too concerned here because his d5 pawn is gone, which means I have moves like rook e6 in the future to protect everything. Now in this position, he lets me do this. Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes d5. Question is, does this work? I'm calculating, no, my f7 pawn is too weak. So f7, queen f3, maybe he can take on f7 due to some very brief calculations there. So in this position, okay, what do I play here? I could just play bishop g4, make him play queen e3. But does this give me any advantage whatsoever? The answer is probably not. I think I might just play knight h5, to be honest. It attacks the bishop and lets me possibly take that dark square bishop. And the only thing I'm worried about is if he pins me. So moving this knight here kind of stops all that. It doesn't let any of that happen anymore. I'm also afraid of my f7 pawn being a little bit loose here, so I probably want to make sure that's protected sometime in the future. So let's play... Ooh, maybe I can play queen g4. That was queen e3. Is that something to be concerned about? Not really. Let's just play something like queen e7 here. Yeah, the queen e7 in this position. Maybe knight f4, queen g5. Like, these are possibilities that I can play here. So, what is my opponent thinking about? I think that's a good question. Okay, he plays pawn b4. Can't take here, that's for sure. I think I'm just going to retreat here just so I can control this f4 square a lot. I think my opponent might play bishop e3 next. I think that move makes a lot of sense because I'm putting a lot of pressure on this f4 square. And after that, I think I just play something like b6, bishop e7. The last piece I have is this bishop that's not developed. So I'm just going to try to bring this bishop out, and I should have a good time in this position. So my opponent's thinking here, if he plays bishop e3, I even have knight g5 ideas, but okay, he lets me just move the knight here, which is interesting. Usually you don't want your opponent to get nice knights like this, but if my opponent lets me do it, I suppose I will take his offer, because this is a pretty good deal for me. He plays queen e3, can I play queen g5? That is the question. Queen g5. What am I threatening? Knight h3 in possible positions? Possible. I'm also threatening mate. You know what? Let's just play queen g5. I like queen g5. It threatens mate, and it lets me do some cool moves in the future. Yeah, he can't play king h1. It's actually a little bit complicated for him. I think he has to play like g3, but that makes his light squares very weak, which I can definitely take advantage of. Okay, so he plays this. Now I have to remember he's not actually threatening anything, and the reason why it's not threatening anything is because the pawn is pinned. So what do we do here? How do we take advantage of these light squares the most? Knight h3 check, king here, just take. Doesn't seem too good. Actually, do we have knight f4 check? We might. So, okay, if he plays here, then I just take. You know what? Let's just check over here. There's probably a better move somewhere here, but this is just an easy way that I calculate I should be winning. Yeah, just play knight f4 here. Knight f4, king h1. Take here, check. Rook takes. And this knight got a move to e6, and I got his dark square bishop. His dark square bishop's good. Yeah, I think this is fine. Let's just play knight f4 check. Definitely can't play king f3. He has to play king back to h1. And then I take on f2 was my calculation. Actually, no, can I take on f2? Because queen takes f2 and my f7 pawn is super loose. Yeah, no, I definitely cannot take on f2. Okay, so he plays this. Queen f2 would be a problem for me because of this f7 pawn. So I think I just retreat here for now. I think that's not a problem. Yeah, we just retreat here. And if he decides to take me, I have the in-between move taking his bishop and then taking back here. And I think this position's nice. This queenside attack is going nowhere. This is just bad. You're just creating weaknesses here. As you go into the endgame, these attacks are never successful, nor are they very good. Because you should just be developing pieces, and these are just creating weaknesses. So, okay, our opponent's thinking. He plays this move over here, which is very interesting. He lets me take here, which I'm definitely going to take. I like that a lot for me because I get to get rid of a very strong piece from my opponent for sure. The only thing I don't like about my position is the lack of development, but I'm going to be developing my pieces very soon, so that's not really an issue. I'm going to move my queen to e7, and I'm just going to move like knight to g5, and I'm going to have a good position here. So I'm going to move queen to e7 basically immediately. Okay, plays that. Let's play queen e7. Let's protect my pawn. Knight g5 is coming in. This knight move is very strong. And I'm just really testing the waters here. I'm not really playing any moves here that are very forcing. I'm just slowly poking at my opponent, waiting for a mistake. Yes, I'm up a pawn, and I'm happy I'm up a pawn, but in these type of positions, there's no need to rush. I think these type of positions, people rush so much when there's no need to. I'm not rushing because I know this position is very advantageous for me. I can take my time. I don't mind doing these things. What I do mind is I don't have developed pieces though, and that's not a great thing. You will usually want developed pieces. Developed pieces are very good for you. Okay, so he's attacking. Okay, let's just attack his rook, to be honest. Why not? Attack his rook. It's defended by my bishop, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Where's the rook gonna go is the question. And then I can play something like queen g5. Oh, he plays this. He's asking me to repeat moves, but he's also asking me to kick his rook away, actually. I'm actually going to kick his rook away. He gave me a free tempo, so I'm happy for the free tempo, so I will gladly accept it. I'm very happy for this free tempo my opponent's giving me. And I think I can play d5 next move. The queen is pinned, which allows me to play pawn to d5, but it also opens up his pieces, so that's not necessarily a good thing. D5, queen here, take knight, pawn, knight f6, bishop takes f6. Doesn't seem too bad, to be honest. But if I play d5, what if he plays bishop b3? That makes things a little bit complicated because my f7 pawn is very loose, and it's been a problem for a very long time. There's a lot of thinking here. Opponent's doing a good job stalling, to be honest. You know what? Let's just trade pieces. One of the easiest ways to win, one thing I've always told you guys is, if you're up in material, just trade off pieces. It's one of the easiest ways to win the game. Because your opponent, if he trades, there's just less pieces that he can use to actually do anything. Now, you might say, okay, can't he play something like queen here, here, here? No, he can't go to any of these squares. They're all protected by me. Now, this is an interesting move. It allows me to take here, which I think I gladly will. Because, again, this pawn is pinned. More importantly, I can just kick this rook away, to be honest, with bishop d4 afterwards. My opponent's putting up a pretty good stall here. I'm going to play bishop d4, kick the rook away, tell the rook to go away. And yeah, tell the rook he has to go back all the way here or back over here. Either move does not seem very good for him, and I'm going to try to take advantage of his light squares. Okay, I forgot he could go there. Why did I forget he could go there? I think I didn't even process he could go there because I'm pretty sure I have this move over here, which is a pretty nice fork. I think he takes me over here. Ooh, actually, if he takes me over here, my bishop doesn't have a nice square to go back home to. So he actually gets 2 minor pieces. Actually, no, I don't need a good square. I actually miscalculated here. After he takes and I take back and king to g2, I actually have bishop here. Bishop to e1 here. And the idea is I take his knight, which keeps my bishop safe. I got lucky here because if I realized if I had to go back to b6, he had a5, which traps my bishop, which is no good whatsoever. So okay, my opponent's playing here. So this is a very instructive game so far in the Philidor. One thing I've been doing this game that I think I've been doing very well is I've been just slowly gaining my advantage. I haven't been pushing. I haven't been really greeding for anything in these positions. I really have been just slowly putting up the pressure, to be honest. And my opponent has slowly been, well, faltering underneath the pressure that I've been giving him. So let's just play rook here. You know, this rook on a8 has not been productive this entire game. So I think it's time to bring him out. Tell this rook, you know what? It's time for you to shine here. If he kicks me out, which makes a lot of sense, I'm just going to play bishop here. I don't care if he plays c5. I'll just take him. My rook is defending this bishop. What is my opponent trying to do here? Not too sure. I'm just going to double up, play bishop c6, to be honest. Yeah, he has no threat here, so I'm going to just double up. Doubling up is generally good. And we're going to try to go for, like, I don't know, bishop c6 here. Just trying to attack the weakness in this position. Attacking weakness is one of the best strategies you can always go for, guys. Tried and true always works. I see an isolated pawn. I attack the isolated pawn. Quite simple as that. My opponent tries to stop me. He says he doesn't want me to get that, which, to be honest, fair from my opponent. I wouldn't want me to get that either. And so in this position over here, what am I going to do? I can play f5. I'm pretty sure I can play f5 because it just wins the pawn, I'm pretty sure. Because he cannot capture, because rook e2, and I win his bishop. So b5 was definitely, I'm surprised 14 under was able to see my idea of bishop c6, so he's preventing it. But now f5 comes in. I think he has knight d2. Maybe knight d2. But I can take, knight takes. Ooh, this square is actually not protected. He protects this way, but protecting this way should never be working because I always have h6. Just kicking away this knight and telling the knight, hey, you got to go back now. When you go back, this pawn pushes all the way to the end of the board. And I win the game. One of the easiest strategies is to put your pawns in front of your rooks. And then push, push, push all the way to the top. Now, okay, if he plays this move over here, I'm just going to play king here. Why? Because I'm going to protect my pawn. If I move this pawn, there's always an issue of this being a problem. My g6 pawn being a problem, so we stop it now. You know what? Let's just play h5. Let's get rid of this problem. I want my bishop to be on f5, to be honest. I want to open up files here. Opening up these files is going to be very beneficial to me. To be honest, can I just play king here to play king there? This looks not bad, actually. King here to play king there. Oh, no, I can't because this pawn is hanging, so I can't actually do that. Plays here, which is interesting. I'm going to set a trap. Can I set a trap here? Yeah, I think I can set the trap. I'm just going to play bishop f5. This sets a pretty deadly trap here where if he takes my pawn, he's getting back rank mated. This is actually a very common mate that people fall for. So make sure you don't fall for this in your own games because I'll be very depressed if you do what this guy did, because I'm pretty sure if I just play this and threaten this mate over here, there's nothing our opponent can do to get out of it, because his king's stuck in the center. A lot of people think this lawnmower mate or this ladder mate doesn't work in the middle game, but as you guys can clearly see, it is quite effective when your opponent's king is trapped on the side of the board, being greedy like this. So I think my opponent actually played fairly well this game for someone who's only 1400. He allows me to just do this, and well, I mate. Let me know in the comment section below if you like this Philidor, and let me know in the comment section below any other variations you want me to take a look at. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.